This is Mike Finnerty of the SureWest Sports Show, and the following clip has been brought to you by the SureWest Sports Show, airing on SureWestSports.com. Welcome back to this week's Sports Chat, and of course we're talking to Joe Davidson, the Sacramento Bee, and of course we're here at Power Balance Pavilion for the big NorCal Championship games. And Joe, 0 for 3 for our Sacramento area teams, Sac High, Wood Creek, and Del Oro, but it kind of went as we thought it might. We thought they'd likely, probably, all three would probably lose, but we thought the best game would be the Del Oro St. Mary's game, and it turned out to be just that.
Yeah, and no shame, Mike, for the local teams, the 916 area code teams. They lost the number one seeds. They lost to teams that were considerably higher profile, nationally ranked, things like that. So, it happens. And all of the teams were okay with defeat because they gave everything they could. They played as hard as they can, and it sounded like an old cliche, but as long as you give what you can give, you can live with it. And it wasn't missed shots and free throws. It was just, you got three teams that lost to better programs.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. And, it started off with the Sac game at 10 a.m. They lost to Bishop O'Dowd. They looked good in that first half. You and I talked about that. Ayanna Edwards, we commented to Coach Masseri and Ayanna. We thought she looked good in that first half. She had that impact that we thought she needed to have. And then, it just didn't happen in the second half. Kind of reflecting your thoughts on that game in particular, and what sort of stood out for you?
I thought Bishop O'Dowd's overall size really hurt Sac High. The Bishop O'Dowd's got three girls, all sophomores, 6'2" or taller. They could run the floor, Mike. They could post up. They could block shots, offensive rebounds. That was the real concern for the Dragons of Sacramento going in, and the Dragons of Oakland prevailed because of that. And these two teams aren't going anywhere. They'll both be back next year and the year after, so we could see a real rivalry brewing in Division III girls in the North.
Yep. And a couple seniors, a few seniors bowing out for Sac High, but namely Fantasia Hilliard, their starts going to Sac State. Brianna Williams, who I think just does not get enough credit. She had some big shots in today's game. I think she only had 7 points, but she seems to always make that shot when you really need to stop a run. She's always there.
Well, Sacramento graduated 4 starters, 90% of its offense, 90% of its defensive coach, according to Coach Masseri. They needed people like Brianna Williams to play big, and she's a co-captain with Fantasia Hilliard, and her leadership and her shooting, her defense was huge. They got to the NorCal finals with a new group, and they could get back there next year with Jasmine Ware, Allie Green, and some of these young, dynamic players. So you're right, Brianna Williams is one of the unsung guards in the region, and she did a nice job to get them here.
And lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention, like you mentioned, Jasmine Ware. She led the team in scoring today, was solid on defense, and of course they're going to have her back for next year.
Yeah, Jasmine Ware has got a lot of skills, and she could attack, and she could run the floor and defend. And the one player they're really going to miss is Fantasia Hilliard, her leadership, her charisma, her class. Those players are hard to lose. But high school programs, you just retool and you get new players in. And I could see the Dragons having a real run here for several years.
Yep. So we move on to the 2 o'clock game, the second game of the day for us. There was one in between. And that, of course, had Del Oro and St. Mary's, their rematch of the section championship, the D2 section championship for girls. And really, this one was just like the first game. Del Oro looked really strong in that first half, had a lead at the break by 3. And boy, St. Mary's, although it went into the fourth and it was still pretty close, St. Mary's really kind of put it away in that fourth quarter, really with the defense in the end.
St. Mary's coach Tom Gonzalez is an amazing coach because they don't just expect great defense, they demand it and they teach it. So how many times did we see Del Oro and its great skill set where they would pass here and pass there, and then all of a sudden there's double teams and traps, and it slowly sucks the life out of you, and it shortens the game. And it was a factor in the second half in the first meeting, and it was a big factor in the second half this time. Del Oro was able to cut their turnovers in half from the first meeting, 31 turnovers to 16, 15 or 16 this time. But St. Mary's had so many offensive rebounds and played so smart and poised down the stretch. They were a proven program, and that's the benefit of being a private school. You have just loads of talent, and they're from all over the area, and that's the refreshing aspect of a Del Oro, homegrown from the neighborhood in Placer County, and they're very pleased with their season. Coach Takayama said it was a special team. He'll always remember them. Madeline Campbell had a nice touching moment at the end where she fouled out, and the crowd was giving her standing ovation, and then she applauded them and herself and her team. So she's going to miss this group in this area in general, will miss her and those other seniors.
Yeah, and those other seniors, Belle Obert, what can you say about her going to Butler on a volleyball scholarship? And we know what kind of basketball talent she is. Crystal Sewell really kind of made the third person in that group that's always mentioned. Sure enough, she always comes up with big scoring nights, and like sort of like a Brandon Williams comes up big for her team. So it's going to be well missed. But they have Brianna Wees, going to be a junior next year, and she could be one of the best ever maybe this year. We'll see. We just don't know.
Absolutely. Brianna Reeves has got such a tremendous skill set. Great upside. She had some behind-the-back passes, bounce passes. She could shoot. Sewell was the sportsmanship winner for that NorCal championship game, and she's the heart of the program according to all the players there. And the spirit of the program is Madeline Campbell, and Becky Duncan's another one. So not a bad year. I mean, a great year for them. But they've got the players to make another run. That's the beauty of some of these programs is they reload fast.
Yeah, they do. And, let's go on to the final game of the day for us. It was a 4 o'clock game. And it was Wood Creek and Archbishop Mitty. And, really Wood Creek was out of it from the very beginning. They just didn't look like themselves at all. I don't know what it was, but I know one thing. Mitty had a lot to do with that because they were just tremendous. They talk about what you saw today in that game.
Wood Creek, great gutty effort. Coach Paul Hayes has been terrific, and Devin Murphy and Geyer and so many of those other guys, Pesca. They're going against a national ranked program with a national recruit and a 6'7" sophomore, Gordon, who looks like he could be an NBA player. We don't want to overstate that, but you could just every once in a while you'll see a player who hits this floor in these NorCal games or state games, and you go, we're going to see him down the road. He only had 10 points, Gordon, but he had 17 rebounds, a couple incredible dunks. I mean, they have good shooters and all that. So the better team won. And Wood Creek can live with that because the better team did win. But Wood Creek being here is a testament to their resolve. They lost in the section semifinal here at this floor and came all the way back, and here they were. So by and large, a tremendous year for all three teams. I don't think any of those teams could be disappointed.
No, and Wood Creek did it without Sam Anderson. Their center, 6'7". You lose a guy in the middle like that with that size and, a talented player, it's going to affect you in some way. Wood Creek got down 10-2 early, and it was really never close. And that's true. You get in that hole and against a team that could shoot well, like Mitty, but it was still a two-guerrilla event for Wood Creek because they had two gorillas in the front row for the Black Mob, and I thought that was great student support and all that. But it was also telling at the end where they took their hats off as they conceded defeat. And cannot fault, Mike, the effort of the students, the communities, and the players. I mean, they did everything they can, but it is hard. It's really hard to clear that NorCal championship hurdle. We don't have a lot of champions over the years, and that's the strength of the Bay Area, it's the strength of the private schools, and it'll really be the strength of the Southern California schools next weekend in the finals. Yeah, and unfortunately we won't have any Sacramento area teams. Just real quick, play of the day for me was that Archbishop Mitty dunk by Aaron Gordon. Teammate throws it off the backboard. He catches it, does a reverse dunk, and it was all over. Joe, basketball season is over for us. Well, it's really over for our show. You're going to cover some of those games next week, but really it's over for Sacramento. Great year, great season as always, and you have something to say in the mic. What is that?
We'll bow out with a deep voice. How's that? Great season in basketball.
Great season, and next up is baseball, softball, and all the spring stuff. So we'll see you around next week, and stay dry.